Yeah, yeah. Nice. Nice. All right. It's a whiteboard Sunday. You know what
Mhm.
it is, right? But I'm basically I was talking with a bunch of people yesterday because had Clubhouse yesterday. And I was asking this question because I was reading this in a book. I was reading this in a book and it was so good. The author of the book said that he would go on these tours and he would ask people, he'd ask them like, you know, adults, he would ask, can you remember a time when you did something wrong as a child or you were accused of doing something wrong? Either way, like, whether you did something wrong or not, and then how the adults handled it, right? You're accused of doing something wrong or you did something wrong and you got in trouble. How the adults handled it. And it was interesting because the author said like he was surprised by how much detail a lot of people could remember, right?
Mm.
And one of the stories that I heard yesterday when I asked this question was like classic story. As soon as it was said, I was like, oh, I had a moment like that too, right? But it was someone said that they had heard some adult, they were, like a little toddler or whatever, they had heard some adult say to somebody else, none of your beeswax, right?
Mm.
And they liked it and they're like, that sounds cool. I want to use that, right? And so later on, they're at home and they're calling their dad, like, dad, dad. And their mom calls out, like, hey, what do you need? And she says, none of your beeswax. And
Mm.
her mom is like, you don't talk to me like that. And she's like confused because she has no idea like what she's actually saying, right?
Wow.
And so it was pretty funny. And I heard like so many other stories as well last night. Do you have a moment like that you can remember?
Yeah. In terms of, I would say it's it's a good question actually. Um, if you were to rephrase the question for me.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Um, was there ever a moment that you were accused of doing something wrong, whether you did something wrong or not?
Okay.
You were accused of doing something wrong. Can you remember any moment like that?
I would say yes, yes, absolutely. Wait.
Okay, all right. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Okay.
I'll tell you a story of my own life where I did this. Right. I remember when I was a kid. Right. I remember one time all my cousins were over and uh, they were all like they're all older than me, somewhat cooler, all of that. And I remember saying one time while they were all there, I said I don't even know what I was saying it to, but I said, what the? And I didn't say anything after that, just that, what the? And the adults in the room were like, oh, and I was like, I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. And they were like, no, you don't even pretend like that. And I'm like, what? And then at the time out, they're like, I was so upset because I was like, I didn't even say anything. All I said was what I know I'm allowed to say those words, but it was
Right.
like,
Right.
no, no, no. And it was
How
just
old
like,
are you?
I don't know, I'm probably like 5 or 6 or something
Oh,
like that.
super young.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So anyway, but I remember that. I also remember another time when I was also really young. The adults around me, I was always taught like you're supposed to respect your elders, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
right? And I remember the adults around me were like, um, they were saying things that I didn't quite understand, and little kid me trying to understand, uh, not being very tactful and saying that I don't understand. Like that doesn't make sense, you know, because little kids they'll just be like direct, just blunt
Yeah.
about it. Like that doesn't make sense. Could you explain? Like I didn't say could you explain. I'm like, what do you mean? That doesn't make sense. That's wrong. You're wrong because of blah 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 blah. And I was told you're talking back. Stop talking back. And
Well,
to myself, I'm like, I'm not talking back. What are you talking about? Like, no, let me keep going, right? And I did that enough times where I got in trouble, get spankings, put in timeout, all that stuff. And I just decided for myself, you know what? Forget about it. If somebody bigger than me says something, just let it go. Just whatever they say goes. Like that's okay.
Hmm.
Do you have a moment like that that you can remember?
Specifically that. Uh,
Just like accused of doing something wrong, and you're like, how?
okay, yeah. What had come up for me was I was like 15 years old. I was hanging out with a friend, and then I come home one day, and like the door is like blocked. Like I can open it, but it's blocked. Like I can't push it open. And I realized the shoe shelf was like blocking the door. So I was like so confused. Like, what is going on here? I'm trying to get in. It's like it's late at night, late into the evening. I have nowhere else to go. Like, what is happening right now? So like I managed to like squeeze like halfway through or like all the way in, you know, and my aunt who was taking care of me, she had come downstairs and she just freaked out and like was getting mad at me. I was like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand. Why am I being kicked out? Why am I being blocked out of my own home?
Yeah,
Like, and then she was like, you're drunk. And I was like, what? And it's crazy because I have never drank till this day in my entire life.
right,
And for
right, right.
some weird I think it was because of the person that I was hanging out with. She knew that he drank, so she assumed because I was hanging out with him that I was drinking. But I was sober, like I never drank at all. And long story short, she had managed to get me out of the house somehow, and then the police came. They dropped me off at some family friend's place. I slept there, and yeah, it was that was yeah. And I was like, I didn't even do anything.
Wow,
Yeah, yeah,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
yeah.
So okay, so what was so interesting about this was what I noticed was okay, that was 15 years ago for you, right? Like,
Yep.
and so we have these vivid memories of what
Hmm.
happened to us when we were younger, that like we were accused of doing something or whatever. And it's like, that was 15, 20, 25, for some of the people in the room, over 50 years ago, right? That this happened. And we still vividly remember that, just
Hmm.
like as if it was like just the other day, right? And I was asking everyone, okay, so what are the emotions that came up for you, or that you felt? And the sort of list of emotions that I got were like basically like guilty or shock, or someone said that they were recorded doing something in their neighborhood, and the recording was given to, and this was back in the 90s, when like with VHS and everything,
Hmm.
they were, or the early 2000s, right? They were recorded on a video camera, and the recording was given to their mother, and then
Oh
the
wow.
mother watched this recording, and like they got in trouble because of that, right?
Wow.
They didn't even know they were being recorded. They didn't had no idea, right?
That's
It,
hilarious.
yeah. And so okay, but they were saying like shock, guilt, humiliation, but the main one, the biggest one that everyone experienced was this word here: confusion,
Yeah.
right? Confusion. So there was like some sort of humiliation or embarrassment, or whatever, but confusion was a big one, right? And it's like when you don't explain things to your kids, even just a little point, it can cause confusion. Or you go automatically. I was asking, okay, is this normal? Like, was that normal for you to receive that sort of treatment? Whether it was like you receive that treatment normally from this person, or you would expect that would happen to other people in your neighborhood or in your family or things like that. And most everyone said, yeah, this was normal. But even more to the point is it normal? Because someone was saying like that they were accused of lying, right? Kind of similar to your story.
Mm.
They were accused of lying, but their punishment was to be burned with a match on their lip, right? And they were like, I wasn't lying, but that was I still got burned on the lip, right?
How
And
does that work exactly though?
what's
Like,
that?
how does that even work though? Like
Oh, like
the
a match, like for the
oh
match, and then yeah,
oh
that's
wow.
the thing, right? And so you know that is not normal, right?
Yeah.
But look at this point: is it normal to punish someone for lying? And most people would say, yeah. Like you would punish, you get a punishment for lying. You're not supposed to lie. right? And so that has actually become really normalized, like to have a punishment for doing something supposedly wrong, right? And especially if it's something wrong that might cost the parents money, you know. And here's the really big piece here is, hey, I know you like big words, Owen. I know you love big
Okay.
words. You probably know this word. Can you read that?
Remuneration.
Yeah, yeah. Have you looked up this word yet? I know you're
Mm,
always into the big words. But
yeah.
remuneration
No.
is like compensation, or it's like payment or payback,
Mm,
right? And it's so interesting because what these parents are doing, and what a lot of parents do unknowingly, unconsciously, is they're upset because this is going to cost me money, or it may cost me money in the future if you continue doing this activity. Or I might have to bail you out, and that would cost me money. Or and it's also going to cost me in the sense of like, if I have to pay a lot of money, or if I don't, either way, it's going to cost me a lot of emotional like currency, right? And so what they're doing is they're getting from the child that eliciting that emotion as well. They're getting paid back from the child,
mm.
right? Isn't that crazy? So it's like
Right.
you're teaching the child, what you're doing in that moment is you're teaching the child that when you do something wrong, like why is it that you have to feel guilty when you do something wrong? Why isn't it that, hey, I did something wrong, I made a mistake, you recognize that you made a mistake, I'm not going to do it again, right? But why do you have to feel guilty when you do something wrong? And then like you go into this guilt, right?
Mm,
Because we've been taught automatically we have to pay back, or like what's the words that come up when you think of payback? Like,
revenge.
right? The
Mm.
first word, right? Revenge. Okay, but how did we go from payback, or the word karma? How did we go from payback to revenge? Like, where do you think the word payback originated from?
I have no idea.
But probably something to do with paying somebody back, like maybe you borrowed
Yeah.
money and then you
Right.
have to pay it back. Like, something as simple as that. Like, that's why it's the word pay and back,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But how did it go from that to revenge?
Mm,
It's maybe perhaps somebody was like, I don't have the money to pay back. And whoever was wanting that money back was like, well, then I'll take it a different way.
mm.
Like in Shakespeare, there's a scene where somebody is like, you have to pay back in a pound of flesh. Like if you don't give me my money back or whatever, I don't remember exactly what the scene was, but it was like, then you have to give me a pound of flesh. I want my payment one way or another. Like you're gonna feel this emotionally paying me back, right? Isn't that so interesting?
Mm.
And the reason for it is because essentially money equals energy,
Mm.
right? And we know this because it's like, okay, if you generate a lot of energy, you can get money, right?
Mm.
If you generate the right energy, the right emotions within someone. So it's like Disney or McDonald's is a really easy one to see. Their whole business model was basically surrounded on, hey, we want kids to get in here and have really good emotions when they come into McDonald's, because then they'll be customers for life. You
Happy
go
meal.
to McDonald's and you have like this really great experience having gone to McDonald's as a child. They have the playpen. Whoa, why did they have to have a playpen at a restaurant? You know what I mean? At a fast food restaurant. It's like, because they want you to have a really great experience. They have the Happy Meal. You get a toy in the Happy Meal. They got the ba 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 ba. I'm loving it. They have a clown. They have all these, characters. It's all geared towards the children because they know you're going to have these really good emotions associated with McDonald's, associated with that taste, associated with that all of that stuff, that you'll keep coming back, and you may even bring your kids there because it's the emotional experience that you want them to enjoy too. And so that's McDonald's is like cashing out with that. In
Mm.
in foreign countries, or especially like more impoverished countries, like where my family's from, the Dominican Republic, They look at McDonald's like you go there on your birthday. It is a treat. It is like, yo, we are going to McDonald's. We are spending this money because it's more expensive to go to McDonald's there, right? But
Mm.
it is a real treat there to go to McDonald's, right? And it's so interesting because so many really big businesses build their brands off of this, the
Mm.
energy, and the energy turns into money for them, right? But can you imagine this? Can you imagine going into McDonald's as an adult, understanding, right? That's like, you really can't call that food. Like, there's so many preservatives in there. Like, where's the food actually? You know. But imagine going into McDonald's as an adult for the very first time. You try a burger and you're like, what the hell is this? Like, you have no other association with it. You'd be like, yeah, I'm not going back there, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really based on that energy, right? And the crazy thing is that what parents are doing to their kids is when they think that their kids are doing something wrong, even if their kids haven't done anything wrong, there's a lot of confusion for the child, right? But then they're causing them to pay with their energy, right? And then the relationship that that child has with energy or their emotions or payment, just in general, is it feels like they automatically go into guilt, right? And the money, the energy is going to reflect in their finances as well. It's going
Mm.
to reflect in how they spend money, how much stability they have, that sort of thing, right? And so it's really cool when you look at this point, because I was watching this video. I talk about this every once in a while, but I was watching this video of a anesthesiologist, and he was talking about how in um, in his practice, he's seeing with Gen Z, he has to up the dosage quite a bit because everyone that's coming in now is so used to self-medicating, numbing themselves via, you know, weed or alcohol or whatever it is that they're doing, that it's now common practice to up the dosage. And I actually talked to another anesthesiologist, and they confirmed that's what they're seeing in their practice as well, or in their clinic or whatever they're doing. I don't know what they're putting people under for, but whatever it is that they're doing, they're seeing the same thing, right? And it just tells us that people are numbing themselves because they're so used to, in their childhood, they felt some way. There's some story. Like, everybody has a story like this, like what you just shared, right? Everybody has a memory that they can go back to. It's like, yeah, and then like I got in trouble for that, and I didn't understand, and I don't know what happened, and then just like anytime this would happen, then I'm supposed to just like go, oh, sorry, and they automatically go into guilt. They automatically, because look at this, you'll start to go into the emotions of either the guilt or the shame or the feeling embarrassed or whatever it is, or defeated or helpless or undeserved. You go into that feeling automatically because there's this idea in kids' heads that if I already feel bad, maybe I won't get such a bad punishment from my parent. But what that sets in motion is you automatically go into that cycle on your own. So it doesn't take the parent doing it anymore. You automatically go into that cycle on your own. And then as an adult, you catch yourself, or sometimes you don't even catch yourself because you unconsciously automatically go into that cycle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so this really boils down to what we're creating in our children with this money and energy being the kind of one and the same, is we're creating this debt, right? We're creating like an energy debt. Drop my pen. We're creating an energy debt within the child where they automatically go into the negative feelings. And then what does what a lot of people experience as they get older is they want to feel good because they felt bad. They want to feel good and they want to live like the positive experience. But okay, if you look at it like this, if you look at it like that word debt, if you look at that, what happens when you go into debt? Like you let's say you run up a credit card, right? What happens when you go, if you take a long time to pay off that credit card?
Collectors.
It accumulates interest,
Okay, yeah.
right? It accumulates interest. So now it's not just like, oh, you just look at that point and it's like it's done, it's solved. No, it's accumulated interest because you've been going years and years and years and years and years with this same debt essentially. So you don't just pay off the principal, you got to also pay off the interest as well. So it's not as simple as, oh, just think positive, right? You now you have to work backwards. The good thing is, right, like with the process that we have and everything, the good thing is you can work through that a lot faster than when you put it on,
Mhm.
right? A lot faster than the many years that you've had it on. But you can also just prevent this entirely for your child. And
Mhm.
then they don't have to go through this debt to then just like try to figure out why their emotional state isn't working out, why their finances aren't working out. Because emotional stability, what do we know? Emotional stability equals what?
Financial stability.
Exactly. I'm just trying to write it really fast, right? I don't even think I spelled that right. But you get the point, right? Emotional stability equals financial stability, right? And so our good feelings are sort of like profit, right? And then the bad feelings are like debt, right? Um, and when we put our children in emotional debt, then they're going to keep cycling and cycling and automatically take out withdrawals. And it's sort of like if you've ever had this experience, right, where your bank account's already low, right?
Mhm.
It's like you got, I don't know, like 20 bucks, $19 in your bank account, right? And then you make a $20 charge and then it accepts, but now your bank account is negative $1. And now because your bank account's negative $1, what does the bank do? Overdraft fee. Boom. And now it's like you're negative $35. And then they're like, oh, wait, you went over the limit again. Another overdraft fee. And next thing you're like, how am I negative $100? What the hell is going on? Right. It's
Yeah.
like that's what's happening within each person, each individual in their emotions. They're already sitting very low with what they can handle. And then some situation comes by and it just completely knocks them off and it goes down, down, down. But now imagine if instead of having just $19 in your bank account, what if you had $100,000 in your bank account and you get hit with a $20,000 situation? Now, a lot of people would look at that like, a, whoa, $20,000 situation. I couldn't handle it, right? But if you got 100,000, a $20,000 situation is like you can handle it. You can
Mhm.
handle it. When you get those $20 situations, that's like a fucking piece of cake, right? And so it's actually supporting your child to develop an understanding of reality and this world, because otherwise, if you're punishing your child, if you automatically go into punishment, if you automatically, even going into reward, it's kind of the same thing, right? But if you automatically go into punishment and you're not actually understanding what your child is thinking, like one of the examples someone said was they went to, I guess, they went to get some candy and their parents told them, no, no candy. And they said, well, I mean, I want the candy. They put the candy in their pocket, right? And apparently they were getting this candy from a store. They walked out of the store with the candy in their pocket. And apparently nothing happened until they got home. And somehow their parents had found out that they had taken this candy from the store, right? Without paying for it. And their parents said, I'm calling the police. I'm
Oh my.
calling the police. And they went through all the motions of pretending to call the police. And the child hid. And he was saying, like, I was just trying to hide and like wait out until the police left or something. Of course, they didn't actually call the police, but still the effect on the child is the same, right? Instead of trying to understand the child of like, hey, why did you do that? Also explaining to that child, hey, listen, here's what happens when you just take things from a store. This is the consequence of it. But we're often told, you know, this is the feeling that the parents are trying to make you feel. We're told that's the consequence, but that's not actually a real consequence. That's something that the parents are imposing on you to try and teach you the lesson. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And what they don't realize is what they're doing unconsciously is they're creating this cycle within the child where they feel like they have to pay for things with their emotions. And this is what sets up the kind of dynamic where we have today, where the news will run a very depressing story, very shocking story, and drum up people's emotions to get them to buy or basically pay for or finance war, right? It's like you see it going on in the media right now today, where it's like everyone is getting so emotionally hyped. And like there's like, anger on this side, anger on that side. It doesn't even matter. But it's how are they paying for the war? Through your emotions and through your tax dollars too. That's what's giving them the permission to say, yep, let's do this. Right. So I just wanted to share that because, man, I know that there are a lot of parents on my Facebook right now and probably on yours as well. But a lot of parents that I've spoken to who they want to do something different for their children, but they're still participating in, putting their child in timeout or giving them spankings or not actually understanding them and expressing to their children all the things that they need to understand, that the children need to understand. And I also know that it's hard. I know it's difficult because they're probably thinking, what a lot of parents tell me anyway, is I'm trying to explain this to my child. They don't get it. How do I get them to get it? And that's why what we're doing is just so important of building your child's vocabulary. That's what you have to do. You have to build their vocabulary so they can understand everything that you're saying. How does a child learn anything at all? At all. Like you kind of expect that your child's just going to learn to speak and talk and walk and all these things, right? But how are they learning this? Through their parents, through their environment. That's what they're taking in. Mm-hmm. But if their parents don't know it, if you don't know what you're talking about, then how are your children supposed to learn it from you, right? Or if they don't understand, what's going on in their environment, if it's not explained to them, if they're confused, well, what's that going to create when they're older? Just more confusion, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so that's why we have an amazing community, amazing tools, all of that to build your children's vocabulary, build your own vocabulary so you know more, you can give them more, and you can build them up at the same time, and they can understand you way faster than what you might be expecting or what you might be used to. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions about that, you can reach out to myself. You can reach out to Owen. This is going live on Facebook right now, so you can just send me a message. If you don't have me on Facebook and you're seeing this somewhere else, go friend me on Facebook, Drake Pearson, and send me a message there as well. But thanks, Owen, for hopping on with us and sharing your story.
No problem.